Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to the daily update of my 1000 days challenge. This is day 644, so let's get things started. Alright, so first and foremost, in terms of balance wise, it remains the same. I've not entered any trade, both in terms of my main trading account setup and also experimental trade setup at the moment itself. So if you look across the board, I would say on Nasdaq wise or US market in general, we look to have a very bearish candlestick yesterday. So even though things tend to look a little bit bearish yesterday itself by the single candlestick, do bear in mind that it is not as bearish as it seems because ultimately we didn't form a lower low on the daily chart if you look in terms of S&P 500 itself. So it didn't form a lower low just yet. And similarly for Nasdaq, actually it did form slightly a lower low in that sense, or near the low region, but of course even close at the lower low itself. So technically it's still okay in my opinion. And similarly, we see over here, we do close somewhat like an indecision candlestick. So it could without doubt be a good sign that if especially we do have a strong foundation to itself, it will definitely be a much needed reversal pattern that we do want to see. And overall, if you look in terms of ASHR itself, similarly, we are seeing a similar price action itself, even though it did have a very bearish candlestick drop itself. The key thing here, we did not form a lower low, so potentially we could still have a very decent bounce, and this could still be the capitulation that has happened earlier on itself. And likewise, for KMAC itself, even with the delisting news itself, we can see that the percentage drop has very much drastically reduced comparatively to earlier this year, whereby whenever such a news was announced, the drop will be much more drastic and significant in that sense. So you can see that the impact of the news is getting less and less, which goes to show that selling pressure is definitely getting less in that sense. So I do see that potentially we could have a very nice bounce. The key thing here is that we are still forming a lower high, but we're still forming a higher low. So if we do consolidate over here and have a very nice break towards the upside, it could very much confirm the reversal pattern has already taken place, and the capitulation has taken place whereby we have a drop and a low drop. And in terms of the momentum wise, actually increased. So I would say that let's see how things goes, but definitely capitulation could potentially have happened over here because this was a very drastic drop, a very decent bounce, and this is a second week drop, whereby it takes a lot of bars to fall now a little bit lower, but not lower than the low itself. So this is definitely a very nice pattern form itself. So otherwise, oh yeah, and one last thing on Bitcoin itself. So similarly on Bitcoin itself, we call a red bearish candlestick. But the key thing over here that you learn is that even though it takes out the lows over here itself, the key thing to know that it didn't take out this prior low, which is very key. So we didn't even reach near there before we find some sort of support. That's not to say that we cannot break any lower, but it is a very decent sign, especially if Nasdaq to have a very decent bounce across the week itself in the coming week. But bear in mind that Bitcoin does trade 24/7, so over the weekend itself, it'll be very interesting to see how price action unfolds itself. If it continues to fall towards the downside, it could mark towards further bearish momentum and downside. On the other hand, a very nice bounce, it could have a very nice reversal just as well. So right now, I'm not looking to enter new trade simply because if you're entering over here, you don't have a good risk to reward setup in the sense that your stop loss will be too wide and your target profit will be too low in that sense, giving rise to a very poor risk to reward setup. Otherwise, that's more or less about it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop by your comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye.